Hello and welcome to my review of Management Studio. My name is Peter von Oven, and in this, the third in a series of 5 videos, I'm going to continue my focus on the 4Cs methodology that I introduced you to back in the first video, and how Management Studio empowers your project teams by delivering an enterprise-class software platform to deliver transformation as a process. So in keeping with the book analogies that I used in the first 2 videos, having now met the characters in the story, understood their backgrounds, and of course we already know what the plot is going to be, that's the project outcome, we can start to piece together what our characters, the users, are doing, their background, how they're doing it, the where, the what and the when, and we can now start to tell the story by taking control of the data that we captured in phase 1. So let's tell the example story of how John Doe migrates his PC from Windows 10 to Windows 11, all while working from home. Yep, I know that's not the most catchiest of titles, but I'm sure you know where I'm going. And of course, Management Studio can tell far more stories than that. So start at the beginning. I know that might sound like an obvious statement, but I just want to start by looking at what exactly Management Studio has captured before we start putting that information to work to deliver the project. It also serves as a bit of a checkpoint to make sure that we actually have some usable data. And to do this, I'm going to show you some dashboard views. First is the dashboard screen that you'll see when you first log in. In this example, you can see we already have an in-flight project. Next is a view of all the applications that have been identified. And you can see that these are in the discovery phase currently, ready for you to work out what the next steps are. Similarly, there are dashboard views for migrations and devices, etc. too. Next is the status of the applications within the project. It gives you a quick snapshot of where you're at in the project, perfect for showing stakeholders real time where the project status is at. This screenshot also shows something called blueprints, and I'll come back to that later on because this is a really useful feature. And then finally is the dashboard designer that allows you to create your own custom dashboards to show exactly the information you need and how you want it to be displayed. So now we have real information and data from the example screenshots. You can see that Management Studio gives you a comprehensive high-level overview of that information ready to start your project. In this case, we already have a project that's up and running. One important thing I just want to highlight is that you can have multiple projects running simultaneously, all sharing that same set of data, but maybe displaying it in different ways, all dependent on the structure of your project. It's literally a click to jump between different projects within Management Studio. Not only that, but different project managers can have different access levels to different projects. Maybe I have access to my project, but read-only access to another, or just one component of that project. I'll talk about that a bit later. So, armed with all this newfound information, let's put it to work. So there's no point collecting all this valuable information if you can't use it. Luckily, I found that Management Studio data mining report feature is invaluable in presenting just the right information you need without having to spend hours and hours to sift through it manually. Quick disclaimer before I start exposing screenshots of data, even though it's a demo platform, I should, as I would in my book analogy, state that the story, names, characters and projects portrayed in this video are fictitious. No identification with actual persons, living or deceased, places, buildings and products are intended or should be inferred. However, if you do see my username, I'm quite clearly living. So, disclaimer out the way, let's move on. Management Studio has different ways of showing the data and how to manipulate reports, allowing you to get exactly what you need to answer the questions about your environment. And the best part is you don't need to be a Power BI or a SQL expert to create these reports. It's easy. First thing we're going to look at is the integrated data mining reporting functionality within the client. As an example, we can see there's a screenshot, and creating and generating tiered reports is easy to achieve, but allows you to combine things together to tell a very powerful story. For example, if we click Applications under Add Reporting Tier, will allow us to configure what aspects of that tier, applications in this case, that you want to report on. So maybe app ID, vendor, version, etc. Once configured, just hit the Run Data Mining Report button and hey presto, we have a report. You could also effectively overlay reports using data from different modules. For example, you can create a report that shows all apps that are in the packaging phase. Then bring in the user migration tier to show who uses those applications in the packaging tier. Not only are these reports designed to present the captured data, but also help you quickly answer questions. Perfect when the stakeholder comes and says, where are we at with this project? For For example, you can configure reports to tell you which of your users are ready to be migrated, i.e. who's at 100% readiness. Take this a step further with the expression column, which allows you to configure the font colors to highlight the data. For example, you maybe want to show 100% in green, so it really stands out. So the report could be something like, show me who has a particular desktop PC, who's located in Bristol, who's running Acrobat, and are 100% ready for migration. Go, I can tell you that. Before we move on to cover the other data mining options, we have a quick guest appearance from one of our other 4 Cs. So say hello to Collaborate. As I mentioned previously, maybe one of the project stakeholders has asked a question about the project status, or has a more specific question about who's running what, where are they located, when are they going to be migrated. Maybe they want just a progress report on who's migrated, who's not migrated. Either way, Management Studio allows you to share a link to the report that you just created that allows them to go find the answers to their questions. It's also worth highlighting the fact that the data doesn't age. It's not out of date the minute you share that link. The recipient has full real-time access to that data, and as we know, Management Studio continually updates that data, making sure it's fresh. In my experience, this is a really useful feature because if you let them try and run a report themselves, they might tick the wrong box, configure it correctly, and come up with the wrong answers to the questions, which might ask some pointed questions about where the project's at. You will also see in the screenshot an entry for Web Power BI endpoint, another nice segue into those last couple of data mining options. If we take the first of those, Web, this feature allows you to publish to authenticated or anonymous users a URL from which they can access the report just using a standard browser. Then there's the Power BI option. Power BI, for those unfamiliar with the product, it's a Microsoft Business Analytics tool that is used to analyze data and share insights in the form of reports and dashboards. Management Studio data mining reports can be published as a Power BI endpoint that allows Power BI to connect to and, as with the web feature, allow users to connect authenticated or anonymously. If I was presenting the data mining feature on a Teams call, other platforms are available, then I can hear the next question coming. And what's that question? Is there an API? And the answer is, of course there is. As the whole data mining and reporting feature is so critical to running a project and the core component to everything Management Studio can do, having an API is key too. I'm not going to go through the whole entire API stack and the API calls. That'll be a very long video. Just to say that it is a very comprehensive API set. But also it provides the backbone to the Management Studio automation engine, which we will discuss later. You have seen, as I did, the amount of data that has been captured is somewhat comprehensive, to say the very least, but maybe also not quite complete in the sense that it doesn't reflect your project in terms of how it's organized. It's essentially a big, massive chunk of raw information that we can go look at and pull bits out. But luckily, Management Studio can restore order in the form of a feature called Blueprints. Blueprints allow you to create a folder structure. Think Active Directory OUs or think Windows folders. You can create and customize blueprints to reflect your environment by creating folders that may be geographical based for office locations, maybe departmental based, maybe PCs versus laptops. However you carve out the structure, just do what works for you and for your project. Then add the data into those folders. The data may be the users, the applications, devices, and so on. But again, it's worth noting that the underlying data is not changed. It's just the way it's presented and organized. A neat feature is that you can add the same data to multiple blueprints. For example, if you're using Word, common application you're going to find all over the place in an organization, then we've captured Word once, but we can add it to more than one blueprint. Blueprint could be reflecting a department, location, or user, all using Word. Again, entirely up to you how you organize your data. In the on-screen example, you can see a location-based blueprint. To add applications and users to the blueprint, just simply right-click and add. I'm told most customers use this data as connectors to build blueprints using Active Directory attributes like Office and Department. This means the blueprint creation and maintenance is fully automated. As we know, Management Studio can update your directory services. Organizing your data in this way enables Management Studio to target specific blueprints. For example, if you have a London migration coming up, you can email just those London users in the London blueprint. No point emailing people in a different location. It's not relevant to them. It might actually mean a negative in that they'll switch off because you keep emailing them stuff that's not relevant. We want a good user experience through the whole of the project. Then of course there's role-based access to consider. By creating these blueprints, you can enable those directly involved in managing the project to have access to just what they need. Maybe it's a location or a department basis. For example, the London team can only see users and devices, etc. in the London office because that's what the blueprint says. Management Studio is all about managing your projects, and so it should come as no surprise that one of the core features are workflows. Workflows also provide the project lifecycle and management and structure that you need as you work through the various steps to achieve the project outcome. Management Studio breaks down this structure into categories, which in turn have their own unique workflow, based on the individual requirements of the category and the different tasks required to successfully complete the project. Workflows also provide a great starting place for automation. In terms of categories, I'm talking about things like user migrations, devices, deployment units, defects, and then applications. For example, in the applications workflow, you have things like packaging, QA, user acceptance testing, all things that relate to an application's journey through the project. The other reason for this screenshot was because I also wanted to show you a couple of other modules that I found really useful that I've not mentioned previously, but equally add to the comprehensive list of ways to manage project elements. The first of these is deployment units. This simply allows you to group users, or other items like devices, together that ensure the users within the deployment unit to be migrated as a single entity. For example, you could create a deployment unit based on location, so that you can easily schedule and catch everyone in the same place when it comes to migration time. Maybe you do it by department so as to cause little disruption as possible. Communication is also, again, here key, and you need to communicate relevant information to your deployment unit members rather than blanket emails to the whole organization. The other module I wanted to highlight was defects. The defect feature enables you to record things that might not quite go to plan. And for anyone involved in any project ever, that probably will happen quite a lot. As with the other processes and workflows, Management Studio can be used to track these issues from initial reporting through to resolution. But not only that, it's also used to integrate into the whole project process. This means that the workflow cannot continue to a successful close until the issue has been resolved. You can also add dependencies. Maybe in order to resolve the issue, you need input from an IT admin, or maybe it's a support issue for a vendor. You can add this as a dependency. In a similar way, you can also assign defect events to an owner, meaning there is accountability and defects and issues are owned. Just to expand on the defects module for a moment, I'd also like to introduce you to another feature that enables Management Studio to help the project team deliver all aspects of the project, and that's the tasks feature. As the name suggests, tasks allow you to create tasks and assign tasks to particular members of the project team. You then have a complete view of the status of the tasks, so what's in progress, what's completed, what's on hold, and what's yet to get started. As we were just discussing defects, then maybe a key task would be to resolve that defect to enable the project to move forward. Tasks can also have a relationship with the other 4 Cs, maybe communicate via reporting the progress of tasks. You could have third parties working towards resolving and working through some of the tasks, having been invited to collaborate on the project. So we've looked at some of the processes in the different modules and how you move through the processes, but my next question is this all manual, or can there be an element of automation? There may be times when manual workflow management is required, as you want to physically check things have been completed before moving on. But then there may be times when there is no need for manual intervention and the process can move automatically to the next step. This is where Management Studio can really save time and enables you to deliver projects much quicker than you ever could before. There are 3 types of automation. Triggered events. This runs when the thing happens, so maybe an end user completes a survey or a form requesting additional information. The user is then automatically moved to the next process. Conditional events. This runs when a condition is met. For example, once an end user's applications reach 100% ready, they'll automatically receive an invite to choose their migration date and time. And then there's scheduled events. These are performed at a specific point and are designed to help with routine activities. For example, sending surveys to end users once a particular project phase has been completed. But there is more to the automation process than just sending emails and moving users through the project lifecycle phases. Think of it not only to improve the overall experience of the project team, but also, and more importantly, the end user experience when engaging on project related tasks, as the process will be much quicker because they basically don't need to wait around for the project team to click something. Especially important if you're in different time zones where you've done something in the US and you've got to wait for the UK to come online to click the button. One cool feature I'll use as an example is that if an end user completes a survey in which they update their contact information or office location, this can be updated in your directory service using a combination of the ManagementStudio API and PowerShell scripts. You could even go as far as updating devices in Intune or integrating into a support platform and maybe raise a ticket in something like ServiceNow, or maybe mirror a defect that has been logged in ManagementStudio. Whatever you need to automate to make the process easier, ManagementStudio provides a comprehensive and flexible platform to create the automated workflows you need to successfully complete your project. So that brings us to the end of this third video, in which I've given you an overview of the second C of the 4 C's methodology, and that is control. Probably one of the most important of the C's, although you could argue that they're all as important as each other really, but control in this instance enables you to really get to the heart of your project and actually manipulate, work with data to start delivering the desired outcome. Again, I've barely scratched the surface on what is possible with ManagementStudio when it comes to working with data and putting the data to work and telling the story of your project chapter by chapter. The other interesting thing I've noticed, the more I work with the ManagementStudio solution, is that although I'm looking at each of the 4 C's individually, they are in reality all tightly integrated with each other and are all part of the overall project orchestration, all tasked with the purpose of assisting you in delivering that project. You can see this as each one keeps seemingly pop up with a cameo role throughout my video reviews. So what's next? In the coming weeks I'm going to record another video that will describe the next of the 4 C's, and that's communicate. You can follow ManagementStudio on LinkedIn following the link on screen, or you can visit the website for more information. But for me, thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I hope to see you for the next one.